Hi again then guys, and welcome to another top 10 countdown list for Gran Turismo. And in this particular countdown list, we're listing off the 10 best, or at least my personal choice of the 10 best all-round Super GT, JGTC, JPGT cars that are on Gran Turismo, GT300s, GT500s, etc. And due to the nature of Super GT racing, these cars are specifically designed, and the regulations around them are designed to make them so that no one car is too OP compared to the others. They're supposed to be competitive, so the difference between the cars tends to be much more narrow, at least in real life, than many other classes of racing. In this list, though, we are making some bold statements about cars which may be better than others. And this isn't necessarily about just being faster. You have to take into account value for money, beginner-friendly handling, etc, etc. And if you would like more in-depth reviews of the particular models reviewed here, then you can find reviews for literally every Super GT car in the game in the playlist at the end of this video. But for now, let's get straight into the list. Kicking us off first of all, in 10th place, I'm putting the Lexus WedsSport IS350. This is a GT300 car, and the reason why I'm featuring it is because it's just a really good all-round vehicle. The price is good at $500,000 credits, and although it doesn't have the sheer straight-line power of some of the bigger GT500 cars, or even some of the other GT300s, the reason why I'm including it is because it's just a really good all-rounder. Next up in 9th, I'm putting another GT300 spec vehicle, this time the ASL Garaiya. Now, there are two primary versions of this car. There's a premium and a non-premium, and although the premium is the more desirable of the two, the non-premium is not to be overlooked. It's only a 250 grand car in comparison to the $500,000 credits of the premium version. And although I would say that the premium is the slightly better of the two overall, the non-premium is not to be overlooked. Next up in 8th place, I'm putting the Toyota Supra JGTC machine, and I'm not putting any specific livery or team version. As with all of the cars on this list, I'm putting it as an overall model, and that's why you can see the split in price. Now, all of the Supras share similarities, but they are definitely different. Some have much larger engines, some are premium, some aren't, etc. But overall, the Supra is fast, it's pretty beginner friendly, it's certainly iconic in the Gran Turismo franchise, and it's just a good all-rounder. Speaking of iconic cars on Gran Turismo, my next pick in 7th place is the Nissan Skyline, or the R34 generation Super GT cars. And again, I'm not putting any specific team version. There are certainly some which are better than others, and as I said at the start of the video, if you'd like to know the differences between them, you can check out my specific dedicated review series for these cars. But overall, the Skyline is a little bit more beginner friendly than the Supra, and the top speed tends to be a little bit better than the Supra, generally speaking. Next up in 6th place, we're revisiting the GT300 class with the RE Amemiya RX-7. Now again, you've got the option, like with the Garaiya, of a premium or non-premium, and both are great. The non-premium is superb value, the premium is more desirable. Both of these cars are great GT300 machines, and even though they are the lower of the two classes, when you tune this car, it's actually fast enough to take on GT500 cars under some conditions, and the top speed in particular is actually higher than some of the GT500 cars. Next up in 5th place, we return to the GT500 category for the Lexus SC430. This is a car which I quite like. It's not necessarily the strongest Super GT car in any particular way, but it's a good all-rounder. The top speed is strong, the acceleration is good, it's powerful, and although it is pretty expensive, so are all of the other newer Super GT cars. So overall, although it's not necessarily the best, it's a very good option. Next up in fourth, we have a car that may surprise some people, but if you are familiar with my Tour of Japan review series, you won't be surprised by this. It's the only non-Japanese car here, and don't expect people to allow you to use this in online lobbies, because the amount of people that don't know that this car raced in the Super GT leagues is unfortunate, but at the same time not particularly surprising. The reason why it's so high on the list is fairly obvious. It's the most powerful Super GT spec vehicle in the game, and by far has the highest top speed at around 260 miles per hour. If you can master this car on the right track, you will totally dominate. If you choose it on the wrong track though, you'll probably finish last. We move up now into our top three with the Honda NSX, and in particular I would say the newer premium NSXs. They are more expensive, but the older models have very temperamental handling, and although you can bring it under control, the newer models are quite simply faster. All of the newer NSXs have very strong all-round ability, and the reason why it's only placing third is because although yes, people do like using it very much, in particular the Stealth model, the handling is not as beginner friendly as really any of the other Super GT cars apart from perhaps the Diablo. Keeping it within the Honda brand for our second place pick, we now move to the Honda HSV 10. This is a massively popular car on Gran Turismo 6, especially when the game first came out, and it's not hard to see why. It looks great, it sounds great, the handling is very beginner friendly as well as being highly effective, the acceleration is strong, and the top speed is remarkably good for a vehicle which you probably wouldn't expect to have that kind of top speed. And finally, in first place, not too surprisingly, and it's not really that interesting a choice, but it's the right one. The best Super GT car in the game is the R35 generation Nissan GTR. All of the versions of the newer R35 are brilliant. Every single one of them is a dominating machine around the track, and in effect, they're almost too good. The top speed is second only to the Diablo, the acceleration is strong, the handling is excellent, and you should have seen enough of them in online lobbies to know just how quick these can be. But that's it overall for this particular top 10 countdown, and as I said, there are in-depth reviews for every single Super GT car in the playlist which you're about to see at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.